Okay, do you see the slides now? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So last class we have just for a little recap, we have finished already the aldol condensation, and then we spoke about this ester condensation. It's called Claisen ester condensation, and then we have seen also the glycidic ester condensation and Parkin reaction. You might have seen already that those reactions are following a particular trend. So in aldol condensation, your criteria was that you should have a alpha hydrogen. Okay, and either you take an aldehyde or also ketone undergoes this aldol condensation. Then we are coming to an ester. Okay, just aldehyde we replace with ester. Rest everything remains same. Then also you have an acidic proton. You can have many acidic protons also, so that because of the ester group, the entire functionality or the entire course of the reaction changes. In one case, in aldol case, you get an aldehyde and an alcohol, or probably after dehydration conjugated aldehyde. But in Claisen ester condensation, you mostly get beta ketoesters, right? You know that, right? So then we show Parkin reaction and glycidic ester. In glycidic ester condensation, what do we see? We have actually an alpha halo esters. Because of that alpha halo, the course of the reaction again changes. So basically, you have 1,2 participation, never-ending group participation, and then you get an epoxy ester, which is called glycidic ester, and then you can just hydrolyze it so that you get basically an aldehyde. Okay, in place of the ketone. And Parkin reaction, you take basically an acetic anhydride. Okay, instead of an ester that we took earlier, now you take an acetic anhydride. So acetaldehyde, acetic ester, ethyl acetoacetate, and then acetic anhydride, and then you see how the trend of the reaction changes. Okay, so in Claisen ester condensation, you have what, CH3 and COOET. Now here we want to put 2 COOET and we want to see what happens. Okay, this is the simple change. This is where I am talking about. Here in Claisen ester you have CH3 COOET. In Novenagel you have CH2 COOET whole 2. So you just put another COOET. Got it? Understood? That is the only change. And then you take an aldehyde. Or you can take also a ketone, not a problem. And then if you take a base, what you get basically a dehydration. So this oxygen from here, CH2 from here, you get a double bond, alpha beta unsaturated ester. Okay, so this COOET it remains, 2 hydrogen here, it goes away, and the double bond O is basically connected with this one. As simple as that, very simple. Okay, but this reaction is very useful. I will tell you the present research status where these reactions are being used. Okay, I will tell you that. So then this is the reaction. You take basically an aldehyde and a ketone, and then you take this kind of CH2COOET whole 2 in the beginning. This has a very big story. This has a very big variations. We'll also talk about it. You take a mild base, piperidine or pyridine, and then some heat, and you get this kind of olefinic product, C double bond C. The mechanism is also very simple, nothing. So these two, see, there was CH3 and COOET, the protons were acidic. Because of this 2 COOET, these protons would be much more acidic, right? And that is why you need a little bit milder base. Okay, so this kind of pyridine or piperidine, they can abstract this base this proton very easily to form a negative charge and BH plus. This negative charge, as you can see, is highly resonance stabilized with this 2 COOET. Now if you have this aldehyde or a ketone, then this negative charge attack here and it forms this O negative. Okay, and then it can take proton from this BH plus, which you have it here, to generate this catalyst again. So this base here could also act as a catalyst, not a problem. So this base is again regenerated here, so that it picks up again this proton, then OH minus goes away. So basically you have dehydration that has been going on here. So keep this product. Now this product has many different fate. I mean, you can use it many different use. Okay, first you can just hydrolyze this to ethyl group 2COOH, and as you know, when there is a geminal CO2H group, heat treatment would always lead to dehydration because they can lead to intramolecular 6-membered cyclic transition state. Okay, you can make that 6-membered cyclic transition state here. So that basically leads to the decarboxylation, so that you get alpha beta unsaturated carboxylic acid. Okay, so you can also achieve the cinnamic acid from here, like you got it from your Parkin reaction. From here also you can obtain the same compound. Okay. So did you understand? This is not much difficult. The proton negative charge attack to this aldehyde center, pick up a base, then dehydration. This dehydration would be much easier because you have two electron withdrawing groups, so the dehydration would be much easier. Okay, so then after that you can, so this is your final product, alpha beta unsaturated ester. This is your final product. After that you can do heat treatment, you can do base hydrolysis followed by acidification and heat treatment. You can get this kind of alpha beta unsaturated acids. Okay, this is the mechanism of the reaction. If you have any question, you can ask. Okay. Now let's come to this question. This compound, the CH2CO2ET whole 2, although it looks like a simple modification from our previous reactions like Claisen ester condensation or aldol condensation, this compound actually belong to a class, belong to a category, which is called active methylene compound. What did I say? Active methylene compound. It is written here. Okay, diethyl malonate. Okay, so this is a malonic acid, and then we have put 2-ethyl ester, so it is diethyl malonate. So this is a methylene group, right? CH2 is methylene group. This methylene group, these two protons are so highly acidic that these two protons can be easily picked up, and that is why it is called active methylene compound. Okay, have you heard about this name before? Do you know any other example of active methylene compound?
So all those acids like valeric acid.
Okay. Okay. No, here we are not taking the acids. Acids are basically electron donors, right?
No, the like the ester counterpart of those acids, I mean.
Okay, 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 okay. So basically, as we said here, that this methylene group has to be active. So we are basically putting 2 electron withdrawing group with this methylene group to make this methylene group as active, to make it active methylene compound. Correct? That is the idea. The idea is you take CH2 and add 2 electron withdrawing group instead of 1. Then these 2 CH2 becomes very, very acidic. So you can put different other electron withdrawing groups. What are those? They could be COET, acetyl group. Acetyl group could also be electron withdrawing. Okay. This could be electron withdrawing group because this carbon center is electropositive in nature. So this is basically your ethyl acetoacetate. This is diethyl malonate that we spoke previously. This is ethyl acetoacetate. You could also put 2 acetyl group, then it will be acetyl acetonate. Okay, that is also an active methylene compound. You could put one cyano group also. So this is ethyl cyanoacetate. It could be also 2CN, then that will be malononitrile, correct? So there are total 3, and another 2 would be acetyl acetonate, and here it would be malononitrile. So those 5 compounds are mainly belong to your active methylene compound. It could be also nitro sometimes, but we consider these as the main active methylene compounds. Okay, actually it could be anything that has strong electron withdrawing group to make this CH2 group more acidic in nature. So that this H2 group, this 2 hydrogen can be picked up easily, then it will be called as active methylene compound. Okay, so if I give you the question that give some example of active methylene compound, so then you can write ethyl malonate, ethyl acetoacetate, ethyl cyanoacetate, acetyl acetonate, and then malononitrile. Okay, in all the cases, if you take some base and an aldehyde, you will get this kind of product. Okay, the double bond will be formed. Mainly dehydration will happen and the double bond will form. Actually, there is a question that comes that in Knoevenagel reaction, excess of active methylene compound is avoided. Generally, excess of active methylene compounds are not taken. Some question actually it came in some exam. So yeah, it says excess of active methylene compound is avoided. Why? What is the reason for that? So the reason is here the Knoevenagel product reacts further to produce undesired 1,4 addition product or the Michael product. Okay, so this is our Michael product. This is our Knoevenagel product. So you have basically one dehydration that we have seen here. Let's say this one, you have just double bond C and then 2COOET. Correct. Now this one has C 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 Michael accepting sort of moieties are present. So this one position is highly reactive in this case. If you have a large amount of excess of this base available in your reaction medium, this base would then attack as a nucleophile to this center, because this center is highly reactive because you have two COOET group present here, okay, which kind of acts as a Michael acceptor. That is why this negative charge attack here and it gets connected here. Okay, so this bond goes up and now it comes back. So basically you had one CHCO2ET whole 2, now you have another CHCO2ET whole 2. So this is your undesired. So you had this one, so here you have another one of this moiety gets added up. Okay, CHCO2ET whole 2. So this is your undesired product, you would not expect that one. Okay. Yeah, this question I think you can easily guess. So it says ketone does not give Knoevenagel reaction with diethyl malonate or ethyl acetoacetate, but it gives with ethyl cyanoacetate. Why? So first of all, if you see this ketone and aldehyde, I do not have to anyway say it. Ketone is anyway less reactive than aldehyde because you have 2 plus I group, and here you have just 1. So anyway your aldehyde is much more reactive. Okay, now let's look at the other side, that is your diethyl malonate or ethyl acetoacetate. Okay, so what is the difference between these two with ethyl cyanoacetate? The difference is this cyanoacetate cyanide group. So cyanoacetate means what? One side CN one side CN and a side COOET, ethyl cyanoacetate. This cyanide is comparatively weaker electron withdrawing group compared to the acetyl or the COOET group. That is why the negative charge that forms on this carbon has a bit more nucleophilicity than these two, because this negative charge is not much withdrawn from this cyanide group. So this negative charge has a bit more nucleophilicity. And the second point is, compared to these two groups, cyanide group is having a little bit smaller in size. Okay, the size of this group is a bit smaller, so which faces less steric crowding when it reacts with the ketone. Okay, these are the two reasons why it reacts but not the other two. So it says here cyanide has lower electron withdrawing ability than CO2-ET or COCH3. So nucleophilicity of ethyl cyanoacetate is more. And the second is cyanide is smaller in size than CO2-ET or COCH3, so it suffers less steric interaction when reacting with ketone carbonyl carbon. Okay. Okay, so up to now, is there any question? Did you understand all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so now towards this end, there is one reaction which is very analogous to this Claisen-Ester to this Knoevenagel condensation. Okay, and that name is Stowe reaction. So this Stowe reaction is somewhat similar to this one, but not exactly. Why? If you see this reaction, you will immediately understand. So in this case, we take diethyl succinate, or dialkyl succinate, it could be dimethyl or diethyl, and then we take an aldehyde or a ketone. Generally, in Knoevenagel reaction, what you get is basically you take an active methylene compound. In this case, of course, it is also an active, but it is not active as the previous case, and that is why in this case you need to take a very strong base. Sodium ethoxide is a very strong base as compared to the pyridine or piperidine, correct? Because these are not as active as your diethyl malonate. Okay. One thing you might have noticed that in Knoevenagel reaction you never get hydrolyzed product. But in this case, you would expect, if it is a Knoevenagel condensation, you would get basically double bond C and CO2 it is CO2 it means this one, but this will remain as ET. But very strangely, only this ethyl has got hydrolyzed. That is quite strange. Okay, so that means this mechanism does not follow a simple route which you would have seen, which you had seen for Knoevenagel reaction. So that means in this case the reaction path is different. Okay, it is not a simple Knoevenagel path. What is the mechanism then in this case? Okay, since you have taken a very strong base, this strong base would pick up one of these proton, either this or this, both are similar. So it picks up one of this proton, forms a negative charge here. Now this negative charge would attack to this aldehyde or ketone to form this kind of an intermediate. Now you remember this glycidic ester condensation where you had a alpha halogen atom like here. But in this case, there is no halogen atom, but there is a carboxylic ester group, okay, which is like arranged in such a way that there could be an intramolecular lactonization which is feasible. Okay, when you take, so this reagent is fixed, dialkyl succinate. You can make it ethyl, methyl, or any other, but here this ketone will be changed. So this diethyl succinate part remains fixed. You will find this reaction in Peter-Sykes. Okay, so since this part is fixed, so this 5-membered ring formation would happen always. Okay, in this reaction. Then what happens? There is a COOET group. So this proton is acidic in nature. So again you have OET minus in the medium. It picks up this proton to form a negative charge. This negative charge actually opens up this lactone again. Okay, So this then this double bond actually forms, and this lactone opens up to form this C double O negative. After protonation, you get basically H here. So it is alpha beta unsaturated derivative of this succinic acid. Okay, that is the mechanism. Got it? It is clear. So here, one case they are showing that this cyclic lactone formation has been isolated in some cases. Okay, in some of the cases where this ketone stabilizes this lactone, this step has been also isolated. So this is your overall mechanism of the reaction. Okay. So that is all in Knoevenagel reaction for now. We will come back to this Knoevenagel condensation when we will be doing a lot of these transformations, the reaction, your retrosynthetic analysis. At the end, it is already mentioned in your syllabus that we have to use this actimethylene compound as a precursor, and we can synthesize many different smaller compounds, okay, which are very, very interesting. Okay, we will give you those examples at the end because it also involves many other reactions. So it is always better to first talk about all the reaction, and then at the end we use those reaction to do some transformation, some synthesis, total synthesis. Okay. Okay, we will since we have some more time, we will do one more reaction today. That is your Reformatsky reaction. Okay. What is Reformatsky reaction? So we have seen already the organomagnesium compound, which is called Grignard region. We have seen organolithium compound, okay, like butyl lithium, and we have seen their some properties. Now here we are talking about organozinc compound. Okay, so what you do in Reformatsky reaction is we generally take a alpha halo ester. Okay, something like this. This is an ester, this is the alpha position, and you have a halogen group. Okay, so we take an alpha halo ester and then we take an aldehyde or a ketone in presence of zinc dust, which forms actually beta hydroxy ester. So this reaction, Reformatsky reaction, is a new name, but this is exactly the same as your aldol condensation. Okay, exactly same as aldol condensation. Why is that so? In aldol condensation, you basically have a proton H in place of X. Okay, and this is not an ester generally. This is this should be generally an aldehyde or a ketone. But in this case, this is ester. Okay, so now they have put just an halogen atom, that is the derivative, and then we take this zinc dust, zinc 0 in metallic condition. So what happens in this case? This zinc reacts to this one, reacts here, and then you form this beta hydroxy ester. What is the mechanism? Let's see the mechanism. The mechanism is this alpha halo ester forms an organozinc compound. After reacting to this one, it forms organozinc compound. So in this case, then this was halogen atom, this is also C double bond O. So that means this center is del positive charge. But now that it has reacted with zinc, zinc is positive charge, +1. So that means this carbon center is now del negative charge. What is it called? This del positive charge to del negative charge. What is this phenomenon?
Umpola.
Umpola. Yes, exactly. So here also you have reversal of polarity after reaction with your zinc dust, and that is why this is also an example of umpola. Okay. So many times in many of the interviews, people ask give an example of Ohm-Polak. So many students think that, okay, maybe the Grignard reaction is the only one with Ohm-Polak, but it's not the case. There are many reactions where Ohm-Polak happens. Okay, you will find many different instances. This is another one. Okay. Okay. So we form this organozinc compound in the first step. Now that this becomes the negative charge. Okay, so now this organozinc can be in tautomeric form. So it comes here, oxygen would pick up this zinc. We can visualize that as a dimeric species. So one compound here, another compound here, so that as a 6-membered 1 2 6 1 2 4 8-membered intermolecular cyclic transition state, this could convert into an enol. You can simply visualize like this one comes here, this one goes, so it enolizes, or you can visualize it through this dimeric transition state to form this enol. This is nothing but an enol. Zinc ZnX was on this center at alpha position. Now it has come to, it forms a double bond O and OZnX. So basically it forms an enol. Now this enol reacts with this aldehyde or ketone, exactly same as your aldol case, correct? In aldol also the same thing happens. Okay, so then this bond comes, double bond attacks there, this O takes up this zinc. Now you remembered already we did the stereochemistry, correct? And here also you have there could be two different chiral centers depending on R3, R4 and R2 groups. If they are different, then you could have two different chiral centers. So they can also basically form 4 different diastereomeric product. Okay, how do you decide it? You have to come back to the transition state, which you have already understood. We have seen this transition state and tried to explain in depth. So now you know this one very well. Okay, so it also forms a 6-member transition state. The transition state looks exactly same as the transition state we observed in aldol case. So here again you OR and R3, these steric interactions would decide which form and which phase, the phase or C phase versus which form, this axial or equatorial, will face less steric crowding in this transition state. That transition state would allow the major product. Correct? Got it? It's absolutely clear now. Got it? So then this one would lead through this transition state would lead to this intermediate, where you have this exactly same, this part remains here, R2 group you already had here, just this bond and this bond has formed, this carbon to this carbonyl, this bond had formed, and you have this R3, R4 and O. After protonation you have this OH. So this is beta hydroxy ester, this is your beta hydroxy ester, this is your final product. Okay, in the Reformatsky reaction. Okay, so the mechanism is clear to all, right? Any question you can ask. So there are one advantage of this Reformatsky reaction by using zinc enolate, okay, over Grignard reagent. So in zinc enolate, this is not as reactive as your magnesium compound or the Grignard reagent. Grignard reagent is a bit stronger than your zinc compound, and because of that, this zinc compound does not react to this ester. This is an ester compound. You have seen in case of Grignard reaction, we protected all the aldehyde or ketone or esters, and then we saw that there are if the Grignard reagent reacts with ester, what does it lead? It leads first to ketone, and first it leads to aldehyde, and then if it is ester, then it first leads to ketone, and then it leads to your 2 degree or 3 degree alcohol, correct? So you cannot use Grignard reagent together with an ester. Grignard reagent reacts with an ester very easily, but in this case organozinc compound are not that reactive that it could react with this ester. So that is why these reagents are stable even in presence of this ester group. Okay. So although this organozinc reagent does not react with ester, they easily react with aldehyde or ketone, and that is how this reaction could happen. But here you cannot use this Grignard reagent, because in this case magnesium cannot be used instead of as a self condensation could occur. If there is a zinc then it could react with the ester. Okay. Okay, this question also came to some exam sometimes. So it says that 2-haloaldehyde or 2-haloketones does not give Reformatsky reaction. So here, if you see this is your aldehyde or ketone, you should not have a halogen or halogen in this aldehyde or ketone. In that case, what happens? Zinc has an affinity towards this halogen atom. So this organozinc reagent that will form will immediately react with that aldehyde with that halogen in that 2 haloketones to generate lot of undesired product. So you will be writing only this, that in this case the zinc enolate leads to self condensation to produce undesired product. Okay. Okay. So here are some examples that is related to this Reformatsky reaction. So if you have this kind of bromine like alpha halo ethyl acetate, then if you have zinc, it will first form organozinc compound and then enolize it. Enolate formation happens, then you take this aldehyde and then you get this kind of addition product. So it is very simple. Just imagine that there is a negative charge here. That negative charge attack to this aldehyde to form this kind of alcohol. Okay. Similarly, in this case, you have a bromine. So zinc bromide means negative charge here. Negative charge would attack to this phenyl, then you get this kind of compound. Okay. Similar with this one, in this case, it will attack through this center to here. So see this center and then OH formation has happened. This case also it is the same as the previous case, the cyclohexanone. These are very simple problems. You can easily see from here. Okay. Okay. Okay, so today I think these two reactions are, we can stop it here. Favorsky rearrangement we can do the next class. Okay. So everything is clear with this Knoffen-Hussels condensation and Reformatsky reaction, correct? Any questions? Okay. Okay, so how was the questions in the last exam? Was it comfortable or was it difficult? Yesterday's exam.
So the questions were very comfortable.
Okay. I have not checked your answer script, so we will discuss those answers. I think once you come back from your vacation, that would be on 4th of March. Okay, we will discuss on that day your the answer script from there. So I think we are mostly towards the end of. Okay, let me first close the video because